Hey, what's up everyone? To kick off the new year, I wanted to do a video, sort of a how I shot it video in combination with a sort of quick gear review. New piece of gear I acquired just towards the end of 2024, and I had a chance to bring it out onto my first wedding of 2025, and it really helped this shot come together that I'm going to show you in just a second. Now, I also wanted to go through and show you a couple of images along the way. So the first image is just going to be a couple of team members that were visible in the frame. I knew that this particular location in the venue, being that it was pretty darn cold outside, was a spot that the bride and groom definitely wanted a portrait taken. Now, I had been there 2 months prior, or in November, and I had shot this same location, and it was a much different scene because obviously the holidays weren't here yet. So now they had this beautiful Christmas tree, and the railings were lined with garland that had lights on it as well. And so I thought to myself, well, how can I make this shot be a little different than the last one I took? So, you know, in the moment, we had this new light here. So this new light is made by Godox. It's an LED, Bi-Color LED light. It's the Godox ML60 Bi-Color. Really amazing light. Now, I learned about this light because our videographer, Ryan, had one of these as well, and he would use it a lot for his video work. But I found it to be quite helpful in a lot of scenarios throughout the day where it could add a little bit of fill light or just act as a key light in general. Really great for using as like a direct flash type of look, it's like a paparazzi style, which has been very popular. So, you know, seeing just the form factor, the size of it, it's pretty much just a little bit bigger than a soda can. And the fact that it gives you that ability to run either off of batteries or you, in the bag that Godox does give you, which is quite nice, they also give you the ability to plug into the wall. If you were near an outlet, you can do that. Now, the batteries themselves didn't come with the light. I had to go purchase those separately, as well as the charger for it. But all the other components that they included were great. The only other thing I did purchase recently was this Godox ML60BI, which essentially is an adapter to the more traditional Bowens mount that I have on a lot of my modifiers. So they do give you a standard reflector to use, but as you can see, the Bowens mount here is the different style. I don't know the exact name of it, but it's basically a different type of Bowens mount. So in order to utilize the traditional Bowens mount, for 20 bucks, I was able to buy this adapter, and it will go in initially to that smaller Bowens mount, and then I can use something like my MagBox 24 Pro. I can grid it, and that will allow me to connect in and sort of modify this light a little bit. The power is pretty darn crazy. At 1%, you get a lot of light. Now, that's gonna be great for video, but for photo, I tend to see that I need a little bit more on, let's say like 40, 50%, whatever it might be. For the shot that I'm talking about here, I was at nearly 100%. And the reason for that is because, so as you'll see in the shot that I'm sharing here, sort of a behind the scenes shot, there was a large window both on the bottom and the top, but I had this idea of what if I put this LED outside and had it blasting full power through the windows. The windows had traditional lines, I don't know what they're called, but I thought that maybe it would create this feel of like, almost like headlights coming through that window, just a different like kind of raw vibe to it, which, you know, I thought, hey, let's go for it. Had my assistant Snyder go outside with this attached to our Cheetah Stand, which we always have on wedding days. Phenomenal, you gotta have the auto clap stands with you. That's a no-brainer for me. So we had this set up outside through the window, and you know, first things first is I had to think about color temperature, color settings. So you see in the original image, before we started taking anything, the colors weren't that great. I think initially the camera was set to auto white balance. It just didn't look great at all. We had overhead lights in the venue that were contributing to that mix of different lighting. Now, obviously I can dial in the light here to match, but honestly, the staff there was really awesome, and they had asked, do you want us to turn off the overhead lights? And I thought, wow, like I didn't even think that was possible. I don't know why. But yes, I said, please do. They turned those off, and you'll see sort of how this transformed the scene a little bit. Got it down to the more moody feel, which is exactly, I think, the perfect type of scenario for the type of light we were adding and just the scene in general. So killing those lights, I immediately had more control now over my temperature settings and what I wanted to do. So in camera, I switched my white balance down to 3700 Kelvin. And I set the light to match. I think initially I set it to match to the same 3700. I may or may not have adjusted as I took more shots to more of a daylight balance, but that in the shot that you're gonna see here, the finished image, this light here was matching 3700 Kelvin to the white balance I had selected. And again, full power outside of the window, blasting through. Now, positioning was important as far as the bride and groom goes. My first shot that I took was just of the bride, just for the sake of like keeping it simple, having only one person there. And you know, obviously a bride in a dress, it's the perfect setting to do a solo portrait. So I had her standing there initially, got her in a position that I really liked. Now I had to be careful with the direction of the way her, you know, her chin, her forehead, her face was facing, given the direction that this light was coming from. If I had her turned too far away, all of a sudden she'd get a lot of shadows cast from her own body. So I really had her kind of opening up and facing as much as she could out towards that light, also without blinding her, because at 100%, I didn't want her staring right into that LED. So I had to manipulate her direction on her head just enough so that she was looking as much as she could towards this light without looking right into it, if that makes sense. At the same time, paying attention to her eyes, making sure that her eyes weren't too far to one side, because then obviously you pick up a lot of eye white, and that's not a good look. It just creates a weird kind of creepy feel. So I made sure that her eyes were a little bit more directed towards us, towards camera, so that we could pick up the eyes. And then just manipulating her body so that it didn't cast any unwanted shadows. Now it is a little bit more of a harder light, especially in that scenario, and we weren't gonna be worried too much about getting things soft. It was gonna be dramatic and moody, but I loved how not only it fed in and landed on her, but also created these you know, patterns up on the, like as the staircase went up. Just really had that feel that I was after, of almost like high beams from outside. Now, once I had the shot nailed down with her, I then went ahead and added the groom and positioned him again in a way that, you know, if he was positioned in a certain way where she was creating a shadow on him, wouldn't be a good look. So I had to stagger them a little bit. And that worked out really well. Just again, managing each person so that they were facing exactly the right angle I wanted, no unwanted shadows. And from there, we were rocking and rolling. So I think you'll see that having a light like this that you can run and gun, you see the result in real time, which obviously I'm a big off-camera flash guy. I love using my strobes, but obviously in the moment you have to take a shot, test it, adjust it down. This, you're getting an actual real life view through the viewfinder, and you can make adjustments as you need to. I'll go over my settings. I'll list them down below here. I believe the shutter speed was a little bit slower than traditionally, but it worked out really great. I was able to brace myself and hold pretty still. And you know, I think I was in love with the result. It was one of my favorite images that I've taken recently. Obviously, first wedding of 2025. That's gonna go ahead and raise the bar so I can continue to try and elevate and come up with new and creative ways to use sort of the similar locations that I've been in. So again, this light, I believe I got it around Black Friday. I want to say for around 300, maybe a little less, but all in all, it's really a great light to have with you. I was using traditional, I think it was a 1x1 Bi-Color LED light, but really bulky, really heavy, barn doors, the whole nine. It was really hard to even put into a bag. Like, it was just difficult to use. It lasted a bunch of years, which was great, but something like this is much more in line with my style, because like I said, now I can attach my modifiers to it if I want to grid it up a little bit, soften it even more. So there's a lot of great options here. Yes, the batteries, you have to add that. You have to add the charger. So there's a few extra purchases you do have to make to kind of make it perfect, at least for how I would use it. But everything goes neatly into this case. Everything fits well. And I think my assistants will find it a lot easier to run and gun with this type of setup here. So highly recommend looking into it or looking into anything similar. Again, Godox ML60 Bi-Color. And I think Bi-Color is extremely important as a wedding photographer, as a portrait photographer, because we need to be able to balance and match this light to our ambient light or the lights in the room, whatever it might be. So hugely important there. Feature. Let me know what you think about the before and after shots, and sort of if you have any questions about sort of the rundown on what I discussed about the shot. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have, but you know, great way to start off 2025. Excited, hope you found this video helpful. Look forward to seeing you guys on the next episode.